Hello?
Dusty.
Hello?
Hi, is this Dusty?
Yeah?
Hi, Dusty. It's Sluggo. How are you?
Oh, Sluggo, how are you? I can barely hear you, kiddo.
I can't believe what we've just been doing. We've been dialing random numbers trying to find you.
Really?
Yeah.
What about the 440-356-1102 that I wrote you?
Well, one of the ones was missing. Check the Facebook page and it's missing and it's hilarious. So I've been dialing all. What did we get first?
Oh, no. Did I really? Oh, that's terrible.
It was hilarious. We actually got a parole officer, and she's like, only call one time, and some other
That's funny.
So it's the Fly Low Show on FlyingEyeRadioNetwork.com.
Yes.
Dusty, I can't tell you how excited we are to babble with you because everybody's been asking, when are you going to have Dusty on K-Rock HD2? It sucks without Dusty on K-Rock HD2.
Oh, God, that's so sweet to hear.
Hey, by the way, my imaginary friend Rick Rippey of K-Rock fame and Mars and Groove is here.
I know Rick very well. Give him a big hug and a kiss for me. Well, you don't have to give him a kiss, but you can give him a hug.
If you tell me to, I will obey.
Oh, God. Don't say that, kid. I may put you in a very precarious position.
Woohoo! That sounds wonderful. Hey, so you got a few minutes to babble with us?
Yeah, I got a few minutes to battle with you. I didn't know that this was a battle, but sure, why not?
All right, your move. Go ahead. No, wait, I'll lose. Don't do that. So,
okay, well, you have to tell me what the ground plan is here. What are we doing? What are we talking about, kid?
Well, you know what? Honestly, what I would really like to talk about, but I suppose that's a conversation for another time, is taking radio over again and making it more interesting like it was when you were on, but, here in Los Angeles.
Yeah. And quite frankly, I don't think that's going to happen with terrestrial radio. Again, the reason I have a podcast on the Flying Eye Radio Network is because I'm just waiting for when they put computers in cars as just a standard equipment. And then we can figure out how to promote those kinds of things because, quite frankly, I think that's going to have to be the next move. I mean, FM was the move up from those awful top 40 stations,
Right.
And then satellite was supposedly going to be the move after FM, except satellite became terrestrial corporate radio in less time than it took FM radio to do that.
I think it had a lot to do with the merger myself. I think if there was competition between XM and Sirius, I mean, I was kind of disappointed to see them joining forces together. It seemed like when they're fighting, isn't that produce a little more fertile ground?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is that, as you very well know, the bottom line is who's pulling the strings at the top, and all of the people that they've hired to go into satellite radio are terrestrial radio managers.
Right.
So everybody's from Clear Channel and Cumulus.
Right.
And they bring that mindset with them.
Yep.
Believe me, once again, I don't get along with management. I can't imagine why. After all, they did fire me from K-Rock for being a renegade. Talk about an oxymoron.
So, I was going to ask you about now that you're, like Richard and Rodney and Jed have basically always been on, the same station. You're one of the few that is at KLOS here in Los Angeles and other stations. Every station has such a different taste to it. What was the difference for you for K-Rock when you were at K-Rock to the other stations?
Well, see, now this is the deal with me, is that I've always loved to be on the cutting edge of new music.
Right.
So when I was in San Francisco, I was on the cutting edge of what is now classic rock. Nobody ever heard of Jimi Hendrix and Led Zeppelin and Cream and all the rest of those people. So that was what that was. And then luckily for me, I ran across an absolutely darling, tall drink of water with an English accent who turned me on to punk and new wave in 1978. And when I came to Los Angeles in 1979, another guy that I'd known from Northern California was working at K-Rock, and he said, this is where we can play bands like Television and the Sex Pistols and, Emergency. And actually, I had the very first 4 Pretender singles before the Pretenders ever put an album out.
Wow.
And it was lucky because I've always had that connection to England and to English music, which, as you know, fueled pretty much most of the especially the very early punk and new wave, alternative, whatever label you want to put on it. So I've always, wanted to do that, and that's what K-Rock was for me. Now, I left K-Rock for a brief minute because I got tired of, I got tired of being paid less than my shoe size. So,
I won't tell you that Freddie and I are actually doing K-Rock HD2 for free. Oh, wait, I just did
honey,
tell you.
I do my podcast for
right,
free.
Right,
so
right,
I
exactly.
understand.
So,
but the thing was I wanted to get paid a little bit more money. And
of
my
course.
pal Fraser Smith was over at KLOS, and so was my friend Al Ramirez. So both of whom had been on K-Rock. So, I went over there for a brief minute, and then the Pretenders put out an album, an American album, and I thought, this really sucks, man. I was playing their singles like a year ago, and now they've got an American album out, and I can't interview them.
Aye.
So, then I got a job offer to go to K-West for more money and a weekday shift. So I did that for a minute. And the B-52s put out an album. I went, oh, damn,
Right.
So I called Rick Carroll, and I said, Rick, I want to come home. And he was kind enough to let me come back.
Smart enough.
And
a very good programmer.
Yeah, and cheat on the key. I mean,
right.
Rick knew that he would give me whatever programming he thought I should be playing, as he did with everyone, and I'd take one look at it and decide what I was and what I wasn't going to play.
Right, yep. What, so when you first got to Los Angeles, what were some of the shows that still stick out in your mind that you went to see, the bands that were playing back then?
Oh, my gosh. You're asking me to remember. Don't you know how many drugs I did? Jesus Christ. Fishbone and Social D and Oingo Boingo, obviously.
Right. Now, Fishbone, Fishbone is very, I'm sorry.
Huh?
Fishbone is interesting because it's such a different, I mean, the audience is there. It was pretty completely out of control, was it not? Or...
Well, yeah, but the thing was, they represented ska and
right.
and the English beat. I remember a show I've forgotten the name of the theater, but it was in Pasadena, the Rialto, I think. And English Beat did a show there that was just phenomenal. But so we had all that ska influence coming from, the Specials and the English Beat and Madness and those bands. And then it was represented beautifully with a combination of kind of punk ska with bands like Fishbone, and then, of course, much later, No Doubt. But, there was a lot of really interesting stuff. The Motels, I loved the Motels. Martha and I used to sing old R&B songs backstage before she was supposed to go on stage.
That's awesome.
And then, of course, there was the incredible Naughty Sweeties.
Right.
Pink panties in the rearview mirror.
Right.
Of which they gave me a pair of crotchless pink panties and a bouquet of roses once, which I thought was so cute.
That's beautiful. So, Martha's going to be doing a show here in Los Angeles in the near future. Any chance you're going to be out here in L.A. for that or any other shows near?
I'm recovering from major foot surgery.
I saw that. What the hell happened?
Oh, honey, I'm falling apart at this thing. I'm an old broad. I mean, I am much older than I was like
you got 10
older than everybody when I went to work at K-Rock.
You've got 10 years on me in radio. I've been doing it for 30, so that's impressive and hats off. Well done.
Yeah, well, there you go. And it's a little more than that because I've been on the air since 1967.
Wow, nice. Awesome. Hey, so I saw you were really digging the Sonic Highways and you like the LA episode.
I love Sonic Highways and I love the message of it, because I spent a lot of time in recording studios in the early years. I was kind of taken under the wing of a wonderful man named Vaco, and he produced bands like Blue Cheer and Harvey Mandel, and took me into the studio. I was there, and I got to listen to them mix Electric Ladyland, Jimi Hendrix.
Wow, really? Damn it.
And because Jimmy was in the studio just before us.
Right.
Wow. Yeah, so it was great. So I always had an education in a really good education in not only music but how to hear it, and the history of it. So as far as music goes, and now I like, my favorite bands are like Band of Skulls and Arctic Monkeys and the bands like that. I'm crazy for Band of Skulls. St. Paul and the Broken Bones. you know.
So you're staying current. I mean, I always, it freaks me out when people say, "Oh, this era or that era, the '80s was the best" or whatever. I'm like, I am always looking for new music. If I ever
Well,
stop,
yeah, I got this, Sluggo. I got to tell you, this is what I tell them. I'm going. If you think that whatever decade was the greatest decade of music, it's only because the delivery system of new music is so garbage that you don't know what's out there.
Right, I agree.
If you
Totally.
knew what was out there.
Exactly.
So I'm going to start a blog, and I want to call it New Music for Old Farts.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So do you know the Facebook page I listened to K-Rock in the early 80s by any chance?
Yes, I know it well.
There's the place
I'm on it upon occasion.
That's the place to start promoting that, because there's some fire in there, and it's just so nice to see. The audience participation is the sort of thing I've been missing for the last decade and a half.
Well, and because I am an old broad, I mean, let's face it, baby, I'm 68 years old. So I've been doing this for a really long time, and the people that knew me from San Francisco think that I'm a classic rock lover. They think that, the Doors and Led Zeppelin are my mainstay, which is about as far from the truth as you can possibly get. I swear to God, if I hear Stairway to Heaven one more time, I'm going to open a vein, and I don't mean mine.
Yeah.
But on the same thing, I'm also not completely married to 80s either.
Right. No.
There's a lot of stuff that I love in that, but
yeah.
I'm looking to the new stuff.
Sure.
I love grunge and loved it when it came out, but now I'm looking towards new music and who's doing something new and interesting now.
Right.
And heaven forbid, save us from Taylor Swift.
Well, so what exactly, give me a quick rundown of the playlist, something you might be hearing on the Fly Low show on Flying Eye Radio Network.
Because I have been very steeped in the blues for a long time. You're going to hear Joe Bonamassa. There's a new guy named Quinn Sullivan, who is he's a teenager now. He's been playing with Buddy Guy since he was 9.
Wow.
He tours with Buddy Guy.
Damn.
And this kid, when this kid's voice drops, he'll sound like he'll sound like Bobby Blue Bland or something. But right now, the kid sounds like I don't know. He sounds like Irma Thomas. He's remarkable because he's got this high voice.
Right.
But you're going to hear that, and like I said, you're going to hear Arctic Monkeys, and you're going to hear Band of Skulls, and you're going to hear Foo Fighters, and you're going to hear 80s stuff like one of my favorite Leisure Process songs, which is "A Way You'll Never Be." I got your cash flow right here, buddy.
Rick Rippey is in here jumping up and down over that one.
Hey, Street, how are you?
Hey, baby, how are you?
I'm well.
I'm outstanding in my field, boyfriend.
Hey, tell her your favorite quote ever.
I was telling Sluggo earlier that my favorite quote ever comes from you in the Lessons Cost Extra.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't afford it, boyfriend.
No, it's lessons cost extra, and you don't have the price of admission.
and as I get older, you have no idea how appropriate that is for all kinds.
I know. Isn't it true? Most people are brain dead, for Christ's sake.
Bingo.
Yep. So fly low and avoid the radar is easily the best slogan of all the K-Rockers. When did you first start applying that in your life?
And this is a perfect K-Rock story, too, even though it didn't happen. It happened in the 70s up in San Francisco. I was coming out of a bar at 10 o'clock in the morning, having been up all night, and then having gone into the bar at 6 a.m. with a buddy of mine called Wild Bill Scott. And Wild Bill and I, of course, they had a pool table and a jukebox, so we were very happy campers for a while. Then as we are leaving the parking lot, and I'm driving this demolition derby reject, and Scott's going the other way, and we got our shades on and the hat with a visor and the whole nine. And he looked at me and he said, "Hey, Street, fly low and avoid the radar." And I went, "God, that's great.
Right,
I love that."
Right.
So I started using it, especially as a warning to all of my 70s listeners.
Sure.
Because, of course, everybody was driving, with substances, shall we say.
Right.
And then
everybody's head was up by the phone lines, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
And then when I moved to LA and there started being drive-by shootings, I thought, well, this is even more apropos.
Wow. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it just kind of stuck. But yeah, that saying was given to me. It's actually the root of that is it was the instruction that they gave to the reconnaissance planes in World War II that were flying behind enemy lines into Germany to do reconnaissance. So before they left the field, they'd say to the American pilots, fly low and avoid the radar.
And now that the fascists have taken over America, ... works well here.
Well, you know, you can make anything your own.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very true. So, let's see. Oh, I was going to ask you the English gentleman you mentioned that got you into stuff down here, kind of brought you down. Who can we ask? May we ask?
Oh yeah, his name was Barry Everett, and as a matter of fact, he went back to England. And he has his own show. He's very much into Americana now. And he has his own internet show called House of Mercy. And it's, you know, once again, it's a great source of music that I ordinarily would not hear.
Right.
So,
what are some of your...
What
are some of your other favorites, the sources, other places you find new stuff? Because it's so difficult.
Well, you know, there's a guy that used to be a promo man in Los Angeles named Bruce Ravid, and he has a thing called Rabs Raves, and I look at his stuff. That's where I found one of my favorite gal singers, Jen Wigmore, who I think is just fantastic. You know, and then there's a thing called MP3 Sparks, and it's actually really fairly affordable stuff.
Right.
And I just start going through that. There's a AAA station here that I can get online. This is where I found out about Chuck Prophet, who I absolutely adore Chuck Prophet. And there's, a couple, whatever. I talk to people that are much younger than I am, and after all, I do work at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Well, yeah, tell us about that. How did you get in there? How did that come about? You're the only person to ever broadcast from there, right?
Well, yeah.
That's amazing.
I started being the only person that broadcast.
Now they're all pouring in.
Oddly enough, I was sitting in Vegas with, doing a weekend 80 shift and working for First Wave. And then all of a sudden, I get a telephone call from Sirius, and they go, "Hey, would you like to do the First Wave show?" And so I said, "Okay, that's great." So I'm doing that on the computer, and then I find that these people want me to come, and they want me to do a syndicated radio show from the Rock Hall. It was called Moonlight Groove. So I came back here because I said, okay, you got to pay me for a year and you got to pay my expenses to go to Cleveland.
Right.
So I came here. I was there for exactly 11 months, and Sirius said, hey, we've got a deal with the Rock Hall. Do you want to go to work for us on our classic vinyl channel? And I said, sure. And exactly 1 month after I said yes to Sirius, the Moonlight Groove went away. They went belly up.
Wow.
So I wound up with Sirius.
Wow.
So, it's just me being lucky again, kid.
Yeah.
I am one lucky bitch.
Well, you deserve it, damn it. So
thank you.
That's Sirius 14 and XM 46, right? Classic vinyl?
26.
26, okay. And then you're on Saturdays and Sundays?
Saturday and Sunday, noon to 6.
And what's it like?
Like I said, I'm old, and so they push me back to weekends. Come on.
What's it like being in that building? I mean, are you in a fishbowl?
The building is absolutely remarkable.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. And the thing is that's very cool is that there's so many people in there that know much more about music than I do.
Wow.
And it's thrilling for me. We have an education department that is outstanding. And, of course, one of the guys that works in the education department is a complete 80s and goth freak. So he and I get along just fine.
That's
and dandy. As a matter of fact, he gave me a great goth box set that's got everything in it. Dolly's Car, all of the cult, the Southern Death Cult, and then the Cult.
Right.
I mean, all of this stuff.
I love their early artwork. That's some of the best stuff ever. It's just so cool.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's a nice box set, a 4-disc box set
that's awesome.
Brilliant. And so I get to talk to folks like that. And then when the exhibits come up, they're not all classic rock stuff. A lot of 80s stuff is starting to be incorporated because I hate to say it, it's been 30 years.
Yeah, isn't that shocking? Horrifying, crazy.
And oh God, I keep thinking I need to retire. So that's the deal. There's great people that are there that come through. There's amazing people that work there that have outstanding minds, and I get a lot of information about new music from them as well.
That's awesome.
Because everybody there is trying to keep on top of things.
Right.
They just do, because when you're working in a situation where music is your life,
right,
and your livelihood,
right,
and I mean everybody, we don't have a sales staff that's looking at the bottom line.
Right.
So everybody in the building is all focused on one thing, and that creates an amazing environment to work in.
One more question for you. April says she and Freddie used to follow you around everywhere, and apparently you taught her to drink kamikazes. Do you remember that happening? Or
Oh, right, like she needed teaching.
I got that impression. I sort of was like, I don't know if I believe this.
Taught her how to drink kamikaze. What, she sat next to the bar stool with me and didn't fall off?
Yeah, I was like, that doesn't sound, if anything, she might have helped you along or something, right?
Come on.
But she did call you
I don't think, honey, I don't think anybody ever followed me around, other than the fact that
Are you kidding? We're all following you around. We're all following you around. Well, she called you the Magi and the Bomb Diggity, and everyone else has said that as well. Thank you so much for talking with us on K-Rock HD2.
I mean, that's so cool to hear that.
They love you.
I had a great time.
We all love
K-Rock,
you. Yeah. Well,
I
wish you were still here.
I got to tell you one quick story.
Yes,
before
please.
I go.
Yes, please.
I'm on the air. I get a call from somebody that's in a limo, and they go, "Hey, we're going up, the 405, and we're on our way to yada yada. We want you to say something to us on the air." So I get on the air, and being the ass that I am, I go, "For all of you going up the 405 headed towards whatever concert it was," I said, "Look out for the car on your right, the car on your right." And I went into a record.
Right.
About 5 minutes later, my intern comes in, and he said, "Dusty, there's somebody on the phone that needs to talk to you." And I pick up the phone, and the guy said, "I got to tell you, you just saved my life. I was driving along listening. You said, 'Look out for the car on your right.' I looked over to my right, and there was a semi that was jackknifing and coming across all the way."
Holy crap.
He said, if I hadn't looked over and put the pedal to the metal, I would have been smashed.
Wow. Damn, that's intense. That is amazing.
So
wow.
Anybody that thinks that there is no power in radio, there's lots of power when you're on the air.
Wow.
So be very careful to pay attention to what you're saying, because people take you seriously.
That is what a perfect way to end it. Thank you so much. Wow, that is amazing. All right. Listen, if you ever come out here, you have to come play, okay? We all want to see you here.
Oh, no, you got it, baby. I'll be out there and with bells on. Eventually the snow is going to get to me, so I will be there.
It's a balmy 70 degrees, as always, here, and clear as a bell. So.
Hey, listen, it's nice to finally talk to you.
Yes. And Renee, my wife, from Renee Nadine, she was over at Groove and Mars as well. She said she was so excited that we were going to talk. So
and we'll give her a big hello for me.
I will.
And Rick Rippey, hi, bye.
Hi, bye.
All right, I'll talk to you later. Thank you.
All right, sweetheart.
Okay,
bye.
bye-bye.